There's a strong chance you're not that far off from winning in business and at the game of life. It just takes one idea, but you gotta have unwavering belief and burning desire. If you can couple that with a lockdown strategy that's fueled by heart, hustle, and muscle, you got a shot at winning. There's one thing that all champions have in common. They get shit done. So welcome to the Get Shit Done experience. Well, we are back at it again. You are in studio. This is the Get Shit Done experience, also known as the GSDX podcast. You can find us at www.gsdxpodcast.com. And again, I got to tell you, we just keep growing. This is absolutely amazing. Thanks so much for all of you that have sent a rating and a review or have told a friend. I mean, it's just scaling pretty fast. I couldn't be more grateful to interact with unbelievable entrepreneurs, founders, executives, athletes, innovators, inventors. And I got one today. We've got one today. This is going to be absolutely amazing. So if you want to play along, I need you to go to garbagegorilla.com, right? It's garbagegorilla.com, just like it sounds. And you are going to find out about disruption today. We're talking about introducing new technology to the waste management space. And this is going to, in my opinion, I don't know, I probably am not the right person to make predictions here. I'm certainly not Mel Kiper of the waste management space, right? But I got to tell you, I feel like you guys are going first round with this. I want to introduce to you Michael and Will from Garbage Gorilla. Thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you very much for having us. We appreciate it.
So this is pretty cool because this is the power of social media, and this is what I've been talking about. So I posted an episode, clips of, I want to say it was the gents from United Door and Dock.
Yep.
Michael commented on that post. I immediately said, well, hey, cool. This is a new name I haven't seen before that's commenting on one of the posts. So I looked Michael up. When I looked up Michael, I went, oh my gosh, what in the world is going on with Garbage Gorilla? I got to watch this. So then I go to the website, then I go to YouTube. Then I start watching videos of this amazing truck with this huge ass arm on it. And this we're talking about, what was the movie with Mel Gibson? Like way back in the day, it was like in Australia, it's like post-apocalyptic.
Oh, Mad Max.
Mad Max. I'm watching Mad Max. Right, so I'm watching this thing just absolutely destroy garbage. Just this thing is spinning on there. It's got like swords on it and blades and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm having like this Mad Max moment. I'm like, Mad Max is back, baby, and it just hit the waste management space.
We're hoping.
Okay, so Michael, talk to us a little bit about your partners,
yep.
Right? And you're in sales for a long time.
Yes, sir.
And you get a phone call from one of your partners, and he goes, "Hey, you want to crush some garbage?"
So, to that point, real quick, shout out to Ben and Mike, United Dock and Door.
Let's go.
Loyal customers of ours, and we appreciate them. So, back in January of 21, we had some changes. I was a career salesman for a company called CDS Moving Equipment. Shout out CDS. We had an owner pass away. We had some inner wranglings in upper management. Mm-hmm. And, the writing's kind of on the wall. And I was looking for something, not really sure exactly what I was looking for. And my client at the time, Alan Oversmith, calls me and, hey, I got an idea. Okay, how happy are you? We're, equity deal, want to try and get something off the ground, but we're starting from zero and we're disrupting. Sounds exciting. What are we doing? Smashing garbage. Get the hell out of here, man. What are you talking about? So
you had me at smashing. Garbage, yes. I'm still hanging on.
It's
the smashing part sounds awesome.
100%.
The garbage part, okay, I still need to be sold on that. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
100%. But now if you're thinking about the timeline, it's still January 21, so we're still in that pandemic scenario. So, you've got, the only employees that are really going to work are essential, and the only industries really thriving were essential.
Yeah.
And that checked that box. And I was like, all right, listen, Alan, I'm going to be out in the field tomorrow selling. Let me just see what I see.
There's always savings, but it's about way more than savings alone. Total Technology Solutions Group redefines managed print services. Excellence is the minimum standard. TTSG is a true managed print service provider, deeply understanding your technology and business goals. Your business is unique. Our solutions are tailored to your current and future business goals. Our customer-first approach empowers and delights. TTSG can ensure your technology environment will scale as your business does. So as you navigate business and constant change, partner with TTSG for premium advisement and seamless implementation of your technology goals. We set the bar high. Your people deserve it. Peace of mind. Powerful innovation. TTSG.com.
So as I'm rolling around Chicagoland, knocking on doors, calling on clients and prospective clients, now I've got an eye for dumpsters, right? I'm looking, and I'm not talking the small 6 yarders behind the restaurant, large 20 to 40 yard open top dumpsters. Pull into a warehouse, knock on a door, seeing a client. Wow, there's 2 dumpsters there. Okay, no big deal. Go to the next stop, another dumpster sitting there. And it's like, wow, it's like the brand. Never heard of a Volvo until you buy one. And then all of a sudden you see them all over the road.
I had that happen with my previous company. We were like a week away from signing an agreement with this trucking company. I had never heard of them. And then the minute they put ink to paper, I can't stop seeing them. They're all over the place. Well, they've always been all over the place, but you just don't recognize it until it comes into your universe.
100%.
So now you're looking.
So now I'm looking. For dumpsters, and I do see them pretty regularly. So I'm like, all right, let's just see where this goes. So we start planning, we start doing some modeling, and we start looking at some numbers, and we're like, there's really no one in the space doing it. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have competition. There are people out there doing it, but it's an opportunity where, if we're looking as entrepreneurs for new opportunities, we're looking where it is in the life cycle, right? And this is right at the genesis.
Yeah.
And I was like,
there is an advantage to being first in.
100%. Or at least one of the first in, right?
The first in.
Nobody remembers MySpace, but
early
everybody
entry.
remembers. Yeah, everybody knows who Facebook is now. So, long and short, give it a week or so, did the homework, come back. All right, let's do this. So ultimately, that was Genesis, probably January. We start modeling, putting some numbers together, putting things together, found a truck dealer, and the very definition of irony, week of July 4th was my anniversary date with CDS. I hopped a plane to Baltimore to drive back truck number 1. We took that month to really plan, get some marketing materials, get some things going.
Some beautiful branding.
And then by August, we had started rolling. And I was doing it. I had my other work phone. I had my personal phone. I'm out there trying to sell. And it was pretty obvious early on we needed help. So Will came on. I started rolling in August. Will started with us basically January 1st of 22, and we've been off and running.
I love it. So let's talk about differentiators, right? Because you are disrupting, but you did mention that there's a few folks that are doing it.
Sure.
They're doing it, but you've got a unique something. What is that unique something?
That's a great question. In all sales and marketing, we really feel like our unique something is our brand and our touch. What we're doing isn't necessarily sexy per se, but it's always that thing that's not only essential, but how much garbage are we creating even here as I'm drinking a cup of coffee or a bottle of water?
Oh, I'm glad you said that, not the content that we're creating.
There's time.
Yeah, I'm glad you
haven't let us talk enough.
I'm glad you labeled that because it was starting to go down that direction. So, all right, we're good.
It's what we find ultimately at the end of the day, being a disruptor, our biggest obstacle is essentially educating the consumer, and that's kind of where we're at. So, and coming back full circle to this, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to get the voice out there and give our unique situation. But ultimately, it boils down to service and relationship. And that's what we think we do the best. We are responsive. We're one of the only folks in the marketplace with 2 trucks, with multiple. So, we could be wherever you need us to be, when you need us to be there. For the most part, we're very customer focused, very customer service oriented, and we're a big culture first company. I've worked for companies in the past where the business was good, but the culture wasn't great, and we had a lot of turnover in those sort of situations. You're like, you're making this much money, you're doing so well, why are you leaving?
Yeah.
Well,
there's more to life than money.
100%. So, ultimately what we're trying to build is we're trying to be a disruptor, but also trying to do it through the lens of how do we want to build this business? What is going to make me happy? Not only just creating jobs and disrupting and now starting from 0 and going to 100, but we want to make sure that, I told Will when he started with us, no matter how happy, unhappy, whatever, one thing I'm going to make sure that you do is that I care about you. And at the end of the day, if everything goes sideways, you're going to have a new set of career skills that will be able to take you to the next level, and no matter what you're doing.
Yeah. Build the person, not just the business.
100%.
Build people.
100%. So we're very people-oriented, both external and internal.
That's awesome. Will, what are you hearing when you're out in the marketplace? What are you hearing from folks? What are they saying about this? Because first off, the truck looks amazing.
Usually everyone we work with, they all love the service.
Yeah.
It's usually, like he's been saying, and we've all been talking about, educating the consumer of who doesn't use the service or does, because we do the free demonstration. So we'll come out, for anyone who has a dumpster, we'll come out and do a free one. Just because we know that's a way to get you. You get to see it.
Yeah.
You see it. You see it.
You'll be hooked in.
You see it. Everyone enjoys to see it. Usually, there's a few dumpsters that we go to. Maybe they don't have a good crushing dumpster. We don't do well, but that's also why we offer it so no one gets it. But everyone who does it loves it. And then the people that I would say right now, and they always say election, everyone's trying to save money. But if you're really trying to save money, you would be using us. Because if you're trying to save those pennies, why are you going to spend $600 to get your dumpster swapped out when you can pay us less the quarter price and we'll get you 70% of a new dumpster? So that's kind of where I it's really just educating the consumer and getting people to understand that we're not a crazy business that's going to cost you a bunch of money. We're very consumer friendly. We help save you money, and that's kind of the whole idea of it. So I don't really that's what I've been hearing a lot. Election time, we don't want to spend money, but if you don't want to spend money, shouldn't you be trying to save money?
In the sales world, my friend, that is called a hedge.
Yep.
So you have to destroy the hedge. First, you have to identify the hedge, and then you have to destroy the hedge. And I think you did a fantastic job of essentially getting to what's going to destroy the hedge. People are always looking for 3 main things, right? Can you save me time? Can you make better use of my money? And can you give me back my energy, right? TME. If you can do that, then you can sell anything all day. So I love the fact that you went right to, hey, look, if you're trying to save money, you're actually contradicting yourself. Because this is going to save you money.
And that's what I've always thought about. It's just like if you guys really want to say, or I always say, try the free demonstration.
Yeah. What do you got to lose?
What do you have to lose? I'll still call you a bunch probably, but I'll probably call you less. I'll bug you less. If you give me the free demonstration, I'm still going to bug you. I'm a sales guy. No doesn't mean no in my dictionary.
No means I need to know more.
Yes, exactly. So I always say just try the free demo. If you don't like it, tell me to get out of here and then block my number.
By the way, the free demonstration is probably 15 minutes of pure entertainment.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful.
It's awesome
We attract
to see.
the crowd.
All you got to just do is watch a YouTube video. But this is exactly the reason why we're on the podcast here, because there are businesses that need a light shined on them. Because as you mentioned, the model makes total sense. It saves money for organizations. There's probably a level of cleanliness because some of those dumpsters start to get packed too high and
100%.
they're overflowing. And now the garbage is blowing in the wind, it's blowing down the street. So that's ruining the aesthetics of your headquarters, right?
Not even only to that point, if I can interject right there, let's just say you had a dumpster out here that's over the line and you get that wrong driver that particular day who brings you the empty, now you're double handling your garbage because he's making you take the garbage out of the overfilled one to put it in the empty one. So it's funny how many light bulb moments there are in that.
Yeah, so this is about awareness because this is something that is new to the marketplace and is going to catch on, but it's just about people being able to see it. So when folks see it, as you mentioned, you often will get the aha moment, or you'll get the, wow, this is really cool, but you're still going to get the, hey, look, this is something we would consider, but we got to wait. It may cost too much and this and that. What about the folks that have overcome that? You mentioned United Door and Dock. Like, what's the feedback that you're getting from folks who have said, okay, let's take the plunge. Let's see what this is like. Let's go for it. What are they saying, Michael? I
mean, hand over fist. I mean, anybody who gets the light bulb moment, we've earned a loyal customer for the most part. It makes so much sense because we're saving time, we're making you more efficient, we're improving workplace safety. The other part of the green aspects of it is, we're helping landfill impact, those sorts of things. One of the things that I had mentioned to Will about that was most exciting, and I'm going to use an example of a customer that we lost, but I was excited about. I didn't want to lose the customer, but this is where I'm going with it. We dealt with a customer out in Romeoville who was doing warehousing and logistics. And the way they were packing their dumpster didn't make a ton of sense, so we were crushing them for a long time. And all of a sudden, we see the pattern fall off. Like, hey, we used to see them once a week. Now it's once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks, whatever the case may be. But I went in and talked to my point of contact. Hey, how are you doing? What's going on? Mike, I got to tell you, you have completely changed the way we think about garbage. What do you mean?
Okay.
All right. Can you extrapolate on that for me? Absolutely. So now we're separating our corrugated, our plastic, our metals. We're actually now the only things you're really crushing are our broken pallets, our lumber. We're paying attention now. Yeah. So, in this process of disrupting and educating, if we're really truly doing it the right way, we are making people look at garbage through a different lens.
They're having to adjust their operations.
100%. You're throwing money away. If you're not recycling some of your lumber, if you're not recycling some of your metals, if you're not recycling some of your corrugated, those are opportunities that could potentially bring you money versus costing you money. Yeah. And like Will said, we're in a situation where we're not trying to cost you money.
Well, I was going to say, I'll add on to that. I would say 95% of free demos, and I'm sure you can test this, no one knows how much they pay for their dumpster.
No,
of course not. That's not something
they're like, oh, we'll have to look into how much we pay. I've been here for almost 3 years. 2 times I've had someone give me this is how much we pay.
Yeah.
And we ask for the contract up front. We're consistently, hey, your demo's Monday at 9:00. Can you have your contract available so we could talk about exactly how it is we're going to save you? And, again, like Will said, no, I ain't got the contract. This is really cool. How much do you pay? I don't know how much. Yeah. I'll get back to you. It's strange.
And what's amazing is, controlling costs isn't sexy.
No.
Right. So, it's a lot easier to sell something that is potentially going to bring in new business, drive sales, this and that. For the director level decision maker, especially. When you start talking to CEOs and stakeholders, which you probably don't get introduced to at the initial, they would love to minimize the cost of business because profit is their pay.
100%. Yep.
So that's pretty key, but I would imagine it doesn't necessarily get to them until it gets to them. So
you're 100% right.
That's usually at not even the free demos, because usually sometimes it's not even the free demonstration we'll see them. We'll get the free demonstration, let's just say a warehouse manager. Yeah. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to run this up the flagpole. And then then they're like, okay, we want to use you guys. And then the next time there's even a bigger crowd for the first paid crush.
Well, if I'm a warehouse manager, right, I'm probably not driving sales, right? I'm an efficiency, manage people, make sure we adhere to the standards. I'm customer service.
Sure.
Right. So, but if I could go to my boss, which likely might be a director, or go to a VP, or go to a CEO, and essentially say, hey, I just found a way to cut a cost by 30%, which would potentially mean 0.5% to the net bottom line. Would you like to know what that is? Then when they start deciding, hey, look, who should get a promotion? They're probably going to look at the person who just saved them 0.5% net. So I think sometimes, I love the fact that you went not to bells and whistles, you went to financial value, because not enough people in management positions look to the greater impact of profitability and value to the company that they actually have. They just think about their role. A great way to get promoted is to think about the role above you
100%.
when you're making your decisions, because they're going to see you as somebody who could now fill that role. So I love that you went with that angle. As it relates to differentiators, those things always stand out. But, we're building here through this podcast, we're building kind of a catalog of commonality. And I have this kind of blessing in that I get a chance to talk to business owners at all different levels. So I've had a chance to talk to business owners that are 30 years in business. They're on to their 12th business. They've sold 4. They're pulling up in super fancy cars. I've had a chance to talk to the person who's 5 years in business, made it through the pandemic by, pins and needles and barely survived, and now is 10x their business because they got through that adversity, so everything is easier now. And now I get a chance to talk to essentially a startup that is bringing something new to the marketplace, is fully branded out, and wants to franchise.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that.
Okay. So ultimately getting into this early on in the modeling system or process, we knew that the end game was franchising. So we came into this idea always with that being the end goal. So we're doing our homework, doing our research, and we did end up partnering with, shout out to iFranchise out of Homewood. So we have partnered with iFranchise. We are in the process of finalizing our franchisor. We're also creating an IP company as well, because we are a branded and registered trademark as well. We've got big aspirations. The nice thing too about it is my partners are 2 Men and a Truck franchisees as well too.
Okay.
So we had the opportunity to look at forming the franchise or through the eyes of a franchisee. So as we're talking about being differentiators in building this culture, people first on the local side, we're also doing the same thing on the franchise side of things as well too. I mean, any franchisor could sell you a franchise and not really give a shit about whether or not you succeed. We want those royalties. We want to sell you.
They want the big chunk upfront money.
Yeah.
And then if you fail, they'll take it back and sell it to somebody else.
100%. Same market. They don't care.
Yeah.
That's not how we're setting this up. So at the end of the day, we going into it, playing the long game, which it always is, especially in a startup sort of situation. We knew that we wanted more than Chicago. The nice thing too, the partners that I work with, one is in Ann Arbor. That's a market that I know intimately. I covered the Mitten for 18 years. We've got another partner out of Cedar Rapids, very successful independently on their own. They run their own organizations and their own 2-men franchise groups, which is, that's why it makes a nice union, because they hired the sales and marketing arm. Alan and I worked together for 8 years out of Ann Arbor, and he went to one guy and he thought of me.
Yeah,
and
that's
I was
pretty
selling
cool.
him boxes and 4-wheel dollies at the time.
Yeah.
So
Well, he knows you could sell because he bought.
100%.
Climb in a
100%.
dumpster.
It took him 10 years though, right, Alan?
But still. Alan's like, hey, if we could speed up the sales cycle a little bit, because I did say no 38 times. So if you could bring that down to like 3 objections and then a yes, that'd be great. So you talked about being purpose driven and principle driven and so on. Being a startup, it's difficult. Being able to really put core values and principles and make them visible and get all those things documented and so on is almost kind of a luxury of a business that is established, is generating revenue, has people in roles that are filling those roles and doing their job, and they're making a profit. But when you're a startup company, you got to make sales, you got to get cash flow going. So those things kind of get put on the back burner. But I think it's really interesting that you led with that. So why is that so important to you?
I just laying the foundation is probably the most important thing. I mean, ultimately, if you build a strong house on a crappy foundation, it's ultimately going to buckle. So
why is it so important to you to be, purpose first, culture first, people first?
People first, culture first. Super important, because ultimately, at the end of the day, people buy from who they believe in. People work for who they believe in. You've got 2 Army guys here too. So again, 20
Thanks
years
for your
apart.
service.
My pleasure. But ultimately, I always found in the service, I always wanted to run through a wall for that guy who actually gave a shit about me. We've both had NCOs or officers in that capacity that maybe were not people oriented. It was task oriented. It didn't necessarily matter, who was left in the waste along the, throughout the process. So for us, and again, I touched on it earlier, we try to build it in a way that emulates a lot of organizations that we respect. And I'm going to bring 2 Men in a Truck back into this. So the way 2 Men in a Truck built the franchise business, and I had a unique perspective because I was able to have a relationship with Briggs Sorber, John Sorber, Mary Ellen Sheets, and Melanie Bergeron, the top 4 at 2 Men in a Truck. And a lot of the franchisees and a lot of the corporate employees tell me what you love about 2 Men. Oh my God, what a tremendous environment it is to work for. We're constantly learning from people. I'm not afraid to make a mistake. I'm given the autonomy to make a decision. And if it is a mistake, then we learn from it, we pivot and make the next iteration. So that's where I feel as if, internally, you've got to have some autonomy. I've got to trust Will to do the right thing. And if he doesn't, I will help coach that. That's a learning opportunity. We move forward and we go on from there.
There's a stronger likelihood of Will doing the right thing and embracing the coaching if you have that type of bedside manner.
100%.
And in order for you to get to the next person and the next person, you have to know that Will
100%.
has got it down.
100%. And, that also takes a certain mentality as well, too. Because if you hire the wrong person in that sort of environment,
trust but verify, right?
Yes, 100%. So, but I also believe that you could also take somebody who was a bad employee at another place and then show them the light. And it's like, oh my God, maybe I'm going to change and be the person that you need. And even on the customer side of things, like, hey, we'll get a phone call. It's 3:00. You probably put the truck away, or you're not in the area. Can you get to me? I need it. My guy's not going to pick up now until Friday. It's Wednesday. Yeah. We'll make it happen.
So how do you keep that type of personal touch with the marketplace as you scale? Does that give you nightmares? Because imagine, one person, especially if the call comes to you, you're like, well, shoot, my name's on the front door. Like, I gotta go do that. But now all of a sudden you've got 12 locations, hundreds of employees. Does it give you nightmares of whether or not somebody's going to take that call and be like, voicemail, right? And not handle it the same way that you're handling it? Like, how are you trying to get your staff members like a Will to look at the business as if it's their own, to be an entrepreneur, right?
Right, 100%.
Own their own business within the business, operate it like it's their own. How do you get them to do that?
I mean, I think it all starts with leading by example at the end of the day. When Will started with me, one of the very first things, listen, I was an NCO. You were an NCO. I'm going to lead you like an NCO would lead. In the Army, NCOs eat last, privates eat first. You take care of your guys. You make sure that everybody's in that. So, again, that was ingrained a little bit in just my life experiences, but there's truth to it at the end of the day. If you're willing to set a good example and lead through that example, and you're hiring the right people with the right mentality, it'll ultimately bear itself out. And, in the same way, you'll hire some people along the way who will interview great. And, I'm 100%. Let's run through that wall together. And 2 weeks later,
they're turning their back on the wall.
100%.
Will, how has your military training helped you to be an effective employee, an asset to the organization, an effective salesperson? Just how has your military training been a powerful impact?
Well, my military training, thank God for that, because I don't know if I would have I wasn't the best kid in high school, best teenager. I was a little bit of a delinquent. But then I went and
I
kind of
personally like my people on the battlefield to be a little bit delinquent.
That's-
and it's I don't.
Slightly
I
off.
really don't want you to be like, "Hello, enemy. I hope that everything's okay." Oh, that's a bullet past my head. No, I'd like you to be a little delinquent.
And it's funny because I went there and my dad, he was in the Navy, and I went to the recruiting station. He was like, go to all the branches, and I was like, I'm going to the Army. That's
Yeah,
it. There's
there you
no
go.
choice for me. I told him I went to the other ones, and I was like, I'm not going to these. This is the one. I'm not eating crayons, and I'm not getting on a boat.
Yeah.
So I'm good on the other ones. But then I went in, and then it was tank, or do you want to have like a real job? And I was like, put me on the tank.
Yeah, man.
So
you get to wear headphones like you're wearing right now in the tank.
So I
100%.
did do that, and I would say one, I've always been a good, I guess, speaker with people. I've always been like a personal person, I would say about myself. I would just enjoy like talking to people. But I would say the Army, I would say basically just made me grow up.
Yeah.
It made me turn into like, and then having my kids, it all kind of just made me grow up and like want to succeed and not just want to do what I was doing when I was 18 years old. It also makes me connect with people in a different way. I understand like struggle, not like obviously everyone has their own struggles, has their own things, but I tell someone in the military like, okay, you've been through things that maybe I haven't been through, but we both can connect that we've both been through
Yeah,
some
that's
maybe
great.
not fun shit. So I would say I don't miss it, but I wouldn't change it for anything. I feel like it definitely molded me.
You wouldn't
into,
be you.
Yeah, and it also gives me the very much like, I don't, like when I walk into somewhere, you can tell me that like this is never going to happen, don't come back, and I'll just think, oh, I'm going to come back next week.
Yeah.
You can't tell me no, because it's just, I'll just keep coming back for more.
Yeah.
So putting it in that context, when he started, and when I was interviewing, so I started interviewing in November of 21. And I went through a number of different folks. So initially, I was trying to find a salesperson like me that I could teach how to drive. Well, most salespeople don't like getting their hands dirty.
Yeah.
I'm a little unique in that regard. I don't care. I've driven forklifts. I've swung hammers, whatever the case may be. That didn't work. So now I'm trying to find a driver that maybe I could teach how to sell.
Yeah. So you found a tank driver.
So ultimately, at the end of the day, I hired a 23-year-old kid that had no experience.
Either.
But the idea behind that is to, all right, prior service, both Army. The real irony here is he was a tanker. My MOS was 11 Hotel. I was a tank killer. We fired the tow missile
Oh my
system.
gosh, yeah.
So it's funny how much symmetry there is in this. And he's heard me tell this part of the story before as well. I wasn't 100% sure if Will was the guy, but he's an old soul. He did it he did it the old school way.
Yeah.
Hey, you fill that position yet? Really liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Not yet. Not sure. Not you know.
Oh God, you hit such a good point.
So I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, his persistence, getting the job, let me know that all right, I'm dealing with the mentality. And then at the time, 23-year-old, just had a baby. The only true life experience was the military, which is a great foundation to build on. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the salesperson you see now was shy and skittish in January of 21 or 22. So I'm so happy for and proud of the development of this young man. And as I shared to you before the podcast started, I'm saying it officially I shudder to think about where this company would be without this young man.
There you go. Ring that bell, baby. IT decision makers, this might sting. Frustrated with IT issues, security threats, and the stress of your technology infrastructure, your technology should blend seamlessly with your business objectives. Technology infrastructure management with limited resources can be exhausting and counterproductive. Do you have an MSP but still have problems and technical hiccups? GSD's advisement, proactive maintenance, cutting-edge cybersecurity, cloud solutions, data backup, and local 24/7 help desk can change the game. Your technology should outpace your business operations to allow for growth, and proactive strategies should prevent issues before they arise. Get back your time and your money with GSD. Drive business forward. Leave the technology to GSD. GSDnow.com. You know what's amazing about folks that were in the military is they come out of high school and all it is training. You don't know what you're going to go into, right? So it's just you have to have the ability to be trained, embrace the training, execute the training, duplicate the training, and then eventually train somebody else to do it.
100%.
I mean, how perfect for a startup company to hire people that have that ingrained in them already, because you're already thinking like, what chain of command means. You're thinking about what brand means. When you're in the Army, you're in the Army. That's a brand, man. Like this is how we do it. This is the culture. This is the belief system. And the overall military has one thing, but the Army does it one way, and the Marines do it one way, and the Navy does it one way. So the industry might do it one way, but Garbage Gorilla does it this way, right? So I think that military training is great for folks coming into a startup because they're latching on to the greater purpose of the total organization. Love team, understand that, to build something big, you got to start at the bottom. You got to run as a team, but you also understand chain of command. Somebody's got to make the decision, so you fall in line. These are all things that, I don't want to turn this into a recruiting video for the military, but I think that it's powerful.
100%. And even to that point, one of the things that we, as you're training in the military, you're going into uncertain situations. You don't know the outcome.
Which is every lead you walk into.
100%.
You have no idea. You don't know if Betty is going to chew your head off as a gatekeeper. You don't know if they just lost 3 of their top customers and they're completely upset. And you also don't know if you walk into the laydown cell where they're like, yeah, let's sign up. And you're like, I think they're lying to me. This can't be possible. Like, you really want to sign up today? Like, I'm not that good. Really? Like, so you never know what you're going to walk into in sales. So I would imagine that's been a fairly efficient maturation process for you to go, wait a minute, sales is a lot like, it's just picking up a new thing and dealing with objection.
Being resilient and being able to adapt.
1,000%. That was the other point I was going to make is if you're a sales manager, what is better than somebody, number one, asking for the job in the first interview,
yes,
following up and asking for the job again, asking for it 3 more times, because how they try and get the job is how they're probably going to sell.
100%.
So I love that. Yeah, how hungry? I love that. Good on you, Will. So what's the future look like? Let's go immediate future, and then let's go long term. What are we working on right now that the marketplace should know?
So working on things right now that the marketplace should know, obviously we touched on it earlier, the franchising portion of it. We have grown so quickly in this market that it's allowing us that opportunity. So we've earned the opportunity to bring the brand to other markets, which we're very excited about. So that's probably the most pressing thing. Right now, the most important thing still is educating the marketplace to us. It's amazing to me, 3+ years later, how many people we will still encounter. I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
And, there, as I shared with you, there are other people out there doing this in this marketplace. So, in some ways, they always say good competition strengthens.
Sure.
So in that same context, I'm saying our competition has helped us on educating the marketplace. So realistically, at the end of the day, the 2 biggest things are the franchising, but we're still in the process of educating. Mm-hmm. So, getting our word out on these podcasts and through social media and even grassroots, knocking on doors, handing out flyers, direct mailers.
You really got to do it all these days.
You really do.
Because you don't know how people buy.
100%.
You got some old-fashioned people that have never opened up Facebook.
100%.
And then you got other people. There was a study done that consumers now want 86% of the buying process, like from start to finish, to be humanless. So
really,
yeah. So think about it this way, right? So this thing right here, I'll hold it up. Where's my camera? Hi. This thing right here. We spend, as human beings in the world, we spend 36 days a year on social media on that thing.
Wow.
36 days out of 365. That's 10% of our time.
Wow.
10% of our year we spend on social media. So the reason why that number is what it is, and you may have noticed this, I know I have, people don't answer the phone like they used to.
No.
And so they don't need to be educated by a human being like they did when we came up in sales.
Sure.
They had to answer the door.
Yep.
They had to take the sale, or they didn't know what the new thing was. So you had to meet with so-and-so. Now you don't have to meet with so-and-so. You type it into a search bar and you go, anyone know how to destroy stuff? crush garbage. But anyone with a big truck with an arm on it from a Mad Max movie, right?
Yeah.
So you type that in and you can do your research. And you might do your research 7 months before you're ready to buy.
100%.
And so
100%.
in that 7 months, you're looking at websites, you're looking at Google reviews, you're looking at content, you're looking at videos, you're looking at all that stuff. And then by the time when you're ready to buy, that's when you go, hey, I should probably talk to a person from the company. And that's why what's happened is it's actually easier to make a sale now. It's harder to get in front of a person to sell because they don't want to talk to you. They want to do all the research.
And it's crazy to say because I always tell them, I do my best work when I can see the person. I was like, I'm still good on the phone. You know, it's still the same thing. But I was like, I feel like when I can sit down and see the person, it just makes the
transfer of energy, man. You got good energy. It's hard to
100%.
transfer through the phone.
Yeah, I try to keep someone interested over the phone is just like,
It's hard.
they're like, all right, I got it.
The other thing is,
give you a call.
Sandler sales training says that when you talk to somebody, they only retain 17% of what you actually say.
Really?
So think about that. If you talk to somebody in a sales pitch, and this is part of the reason why you're like, we've educated people and then we go back and they forgot.
Yep.
That's why, because they're thinking about other things. They're not really totally paying attention. They're only capturing a little bit of what you're providing to them, which is why that repetition of message is so important and so constant. So this thing right here, as you're creating awareness, is going to be your power source, is to create those entertaining videos. The cool thing is you have something so entertaining to watch. I would beg you, if you're listening to this, to take a moment and go on YouTube and check out Garbage Gorilla and watch what their trucks do and just watch that process. If you know somebody who owns a business or you own a business and they have a dumpster there, you will be calling them. If anything, just for the free demo,
Yep.
just to
100%.
watch it in person. It's
100%.
pretty amazing. So the technology is pretty amazing, right? But technology is expensive. These trucks are expensive.
For sure, absolutely.
All right,
Very expensive.
so like you have to have a certain amount of sales to buy the capital equipment
Sure.
to go, hey, we need another truck, right?
Absolutely.
So where are you in that you're talking about educating the marketplace? How well received and how fast are sales climbing?
So we probably have had our most explosive growth in certainly near the end of year one and into year two. We're up over last year and we continue to grow even despite market conditions. So we're excited about that. But we also know that there's so much untapped market still that's out there. So we're certainly looking for another explosive growth year, and we suspect 25 will be.
That's the year, baby.
Yeah, I really do feel like that. You know, we're just wrapping up our third year. We came into this, again, I sold four-wheel dollies. I sold boxes. My two partners, they run 2 Men in a Truck franchises. And I do want to give their backgrounds and their stories too, and we'll get to that. But, you know, ultimately, we continue to surprise ourselves even. You know, we'll do a demo and crickets for 6 months, right? Like, and that's not without effort, believe me, you know, knocking on doors and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, the light bulb goes out. So we never know when the light bulb's going to go off.
It's
so
tough to tell when it's something brand new, when somebody's going to be ready to buy.
So, you know, in combination of we're constantly, the way I say it, we're constantly chopping wood, throwing logs on the fire. We've got to consistently get leads, get demos, and then ultimately at the end of the day, hopefully we close that demo quickly, but we've surprised and been surprised pleasantly that, holy shit, we did that demo a year ago and now we're crushing that customer consistently, you know? So we never know when, but we actually welcome that because I think that contributes to the explosive growth opportunity as well.
So you mentioned your two partners. So I want to talk a little bit about this because it is a difficult thing, especially for scaling businesses.
Sure.
And, you know, a sole owner is hard because you're on your own. You got to do it all. A partner, like 50-50 partnerships are hard because it's like who wins the argument.
Sure.
3 owners is hard because you're no longer playing man-to-man. You're playing
Correct.
zone defense now,
100%.
right? So like, you could get outruled 2-1 and you got a really good idea, and that could create some tension, right? It also is beautiful because you just opened up the room for the amount of ideas,
100%.
perspectives, and points of view and previous life experiences that will impact the way that the organization takes off. So tell me a little bit about how you and your two partners work and get into a flow state to get more shit done.
So, if I can, I'd like to give you the short story.
Let's go.
long.
I love short stories.
So, Alan was a client of mine. He owns about 8 locations of 2 men in a truck throughout the country. He needed this service.
Come on, Alan. You need to get out there and do something with your life. You only own 8. I figured
Right.
you would have been up
You
to
know?
12 by now.
I mean, geez.
Just sitting around, eating bonbons, not doing anything.
So
Good Lord, 8 businesses.
So
Good for you,
he's been
Alan.
operating for about 15 years, 16 years under the 2 men in a truck umbrella. And like I said, he worked with me for about 8 years. So his team is really who is responsible for finding the idea out at their Boston facility. So he comes into our partnership with experience running trucks, running a business, encountering some unique situations and discovering new markets, because there was a blackout period in certain parts of the country for 2 men, and he was one of the first franchisees into those markets. So he knows how to build a market from zero market share as well.
I would
too.
imagine it's awesome too because he understands the logistics part and like the
100%.
efficiency of logistics and how to best control your fuel costs and all those different
100%. So, and Alan's about my
Dispatch.
age. Yes. Our third partner, Nathan Burns, out of Cedar Rapids, he has probably the most interesting story of all of us. So, has a law degree, University of Iowa. And
Go Hawks.
while he was going to law school, he fell in love with the poker craze. Ended up winning 7 figures online and didn't take the bar.
Now he's like Monty Burns.
100%. Yes, exactly.
Release the hounds, Smithers.
Exactly. So ultimately, he has a legal background, but became an entrepreneur. Went through a couple other franchising situations before he settled on 2 men in a truck. So Alan and Nathan always were in and around each other, but never had any real direct interaction. And to be fair, Nathan's the one owner I was never able to sell. So ironically, right?
Nathan was saying Alan. He's like, I'm not sure about this Michael guy. Like, I don't know if he can. I'm not so sure he could sell.
So, and that's where I come in. Ultimately, Alan and I had the relationship on the vendor customer side of things. And, he knew that this was a B2B, 2 men in a truck's B2C. So it's not an animal that he's familiar with. So the nice thing you talk about, now coming back full circle, coming into the flow state, the nice thing about it is we really sincerely bring our own experiences, and we kind of let the inmate run that part of the asylum for that. And not to say that we don't offer opinions or have disagreements.
You found your lanes.
But we found our lanes and we complement each other very well. So my background, as I shared a little bit, 26 years sales. I'm an artist by training. So I've got a Bachelor of Art. My wife, Heather Dellenbach, shout out. She is a graphic designer, also an art degree. So everything you see with us is bootstrapped, organically grown here in the Midwest, Michigan, Illinois, Iowa. And that's ultimately how we are going to grow the
Regional
brand as well,
growth.
too. We are going to grow through the Midwest. First of all, they're markets that I know intimately from my old line of work. But, bringing all of those unique experiences together, we're able to sit down at a table and hash things out. And it's really interesting because you could see we've got a biweekly founders call. And then now on the franchising side of things, we're working weekly. And it's funny, you could, obviously every meeting starts a little small talk. You got to lay the foundation and then get into it. But you could really see, when we get humming and getting going, it usually is somebody says a thought, didn't think about that. What about this? And then one thought tends to lead to another. And it's the same thing with Will and I. It's very symbiotic. There's never a dumb idea.
Yeah.
And even
Just
if it ends
ideas
up
that
being,
need to be refined.
yeah, and even if it's something that we end up choosing not to do, we might still do an iteration of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you might not do it immediately. You might come back to it, but you got to throw the idea out there.
100%.
You got to try that. So the three-headed monster has figured out the lane to build this organization. Let's just get brass tacks here for a second. Okay. So a business out there. Let's take a construction company.
Yeah.
Okay. Construction company clearly is going to have a lot of materials. It's going to have a lot of waste. Is going to have a lot of scraps. It's going to have a lot of those things. What's the benefit and advantage of them signing up with you today?
So ultimately, at the end of the day, what we're trying to accomplish as a business is we're trying to cut your hulls in half at least by crushing the content 70%. So ultimately, at the end of the day, their benefits, well, one, the obvious one, they're getting a cost savings. If you're doing it the right way, we're going to at least crush crush a dumpster one time. We've got customers that'll crush the same dumpster a couple different times. In those situations, I tell them, don't fill it 100%. Call us when you're 70 or 80. We'll crush you to nothing. We'll get you that second dumpster, fill that the second time and then top it off. So if you're really managing your waste and thinking about it the right way, we could save you 2 pulls, which depending on your contract could be $1,000.
So if they, for all intents and purposes, I drive by in this neighborhood that's across the street from my neighborhood, it's being developed. There's might be 4 dumpsters sitting in the driveway of 2 new homes.
Sure.
Right? So 2 and 2.
Yeah.
Right? And these things are overflowing.
Yep.
Right? So in essence, what you're saying is you could potentially take those 4 dumpsters and with the same amount of stuff plus some, turn it into 2.
Correct.
So the cost of those 2 dumpsters they reserved that had to be hauled there, picked up and hauled away, they just saved.
100%.
Which they could now either put directly to the bottom line. Hey, CEOs, I would imagine you're doing this, for a little money. There it is.
Right.
Or they could reinvest that money back into something to expand, grow, marketing campaign, whatever it might be. Because it's money that's already in the business. It's just where it's being allocated to.
100%.
Well, I was just going to say, you talking about the CEOs, it's actually funny because construction companies, there's some companies that's the superintendents, whoever saves the most money on each project, they get a bonus.
Kick.
So we've met, there's not, like I said, not everyone does that, but the ones we meet, they get excited to see us. Because I'll add on that. So for construction, because we always like to be honest, we'll be honest if we think we can't crush a dumpster. We're not good for every part of a construction product. If you're doing cement, masonry, shingles,
100%.
we're just going to make you heavier. We don't want to do that because you're going to get charged more. We're towards the end of the project.
I always say halfway through to the end.
Paper, boxes, wood chunks.
That was kind of it. I was just saying, we usually they're looking for those, the superintendents are looking for that because like, oh, this is going to save me that 0.5% to beat John over there who gets the bonus every quarter. So
well, and saying it differently too, and even in this context where you were saying, hey, we saved you this, you can reallocate it. What construction project do you ever known to stay on budget?
None.
Never. So that's our angle as well too. Aside from the super or the project manager getting an extra kick from the savings, we're helping you stay closer to your budget.
Yeah, because you built into the budget, you're going to make a 10% net profit, right? 30% gross, 10% net.
Yeah.
And then damn sure you end up with 5% net.
Yeah,
and
after all the indirect.
20, yeah, so yeah, if you can add a couple points to that bottom line, that's pretty awesome. I want to understand this because again, I talk to people in all different unique positions in their business.
Yeah.
What has been some of the interesting adversity that you've had to deal with that perhaps it just came out of left field. You're like, oh my God, I didn't realize what the, how did you handle that adversity and then turn it into a windfall?
So the one thing I could think of immediately is this year. And I joke with Will about it all the time. When the truck breaks down, that's easy. I take that to a shop, right? Well, the green portion on the back of that truck is a French manufactured part. PacMat, shout out PacMat. Thank you very much.
Man, we are doing so many shout outs. We should get sponsorship dollars for this one, baby.
But if that part breaks down, you're looking at the service guy.
Yeah.
And what I've joked about this year is like, man, a 3-year-old truck is like the 15 to 20-year-old house. It's time to reinvest in this thing and put some money in.
Yeah,
so,
it takes some wear and tear, man.
So, and the other part of it is, and I joke, all the time about this, when we were in the weeds earlier, like May, June, there's nobody to take the pack mat to. So you're looking at the guy, like I was joking, I don't know why any of the electrical or hydraulic components do what they do, but you bet your ass I know where they go and how to replace them. We've changed limit switches. We've run grease lines. But these are all, when you're in the weeds, they suck. But at the end of the day, I'm a big energy. I'm a gratitude guy. I try to practice mindfulness. So at the end of it, I'm grateful for those learning opportunities, no matter how painful they are. But this year, I would say that was probably the most exciting pain point that we've had, because for the most part, we show up, we break stuff, and we leave.
Yeah.
That we always joke, we don't have a long-term contract, but we have a month-to-month agreement that does two things. It protects you, Mr. Customer. If I break your dumpster, we will repair or buy the dumpster. Great news is, in 3 years, the next dumpster we break will be the first.
That's awesome.
So, those are some of the hardest obstacles to overcome. But, at the end of the day, just running the trucks really has been the biggest part of it, because again, these are sales hands, man. I used to sell boxes and 4-wheel dollies.
I shook your hand. It was very soft.
Exactly.
It was as soft as mine. So, you are also going up against, your differentiator is also going up against some juggernaut organizations.
Sure.
So how has that created some tension with some of the dumpster companies? And is there a way that you've been able to kind of complement that or argue that away, if you will, where they go, okay, you know what, maybe they are kind of an advantage for us?
I really appreciate you asking that question, because that's always one of the biggest selling points that I feel. So the shorter answer is, if you're a disruptor, you're always pissing people off. You're making as many enemies as you are making friends, right? So that's the short answer. But the longer answer is, I come from transportation, buddy. I know damn well you don't have enough drivers to get to every dumpster you've got to swap out at the end of the day. So in my estimation, we're a perfect add-on service for you. You can't get to your customer for 2 days. How do I know that? Because he called me to crush the dumpster. Why don't you use us as an add-on service? We'll charge you
instead
X.
of the labor cost, of turnover, keep hiring people, we can't keep them. Hire a garbage gorilla to essentially crush it, and then all of a sudden you don't need that labor.
I've bought you more time. Maybe the dumpster's a little bit heavier and you're losing a little bit more margin, but you're also keeping your customer happy. I can't tell you how many customers of ours have switched their waste provider because they can't get to them in a timely fashion.
I would imagine that's a pretty common switch too.
Yeah.
Because it's almost a race to the bottom. It's like, one person does it at one price, somebody else comes in and goes, what are they doing it at? And they tell them, and they go, okay, well, I'm going to do it for $3 less per month. And then they switch. It's a dumpster, so they switch over. So what it really comes down to is service.
100%.
Because the price is always, everyone's going to keep moving the price down. So it's like, how much amazing service can you provide for that price is what's going to dictate whether or not they even shop you.
100%.
Or they just stay with you. So you're essentially can bolt on to that waste management company to essentially say, hey, we're going to help you provide a better service, which is going to
keep your customers happy.
Yeah, and it's going to fend off the competition from coming to your customer and going, hey, we could do it for cheaper.
100%.
No, because we're bolted on with Garbage Gorilla, and they're not.
100%.
And I will say this: the top executives probably hate us, but the drivers, there's been like maybe we've showed up where we're supposed to crush a dumpster, and the customer accidentally called to get swapped out as well, and we'll meet at the same time, and it's always like oh man, here we go this time. And I would say 95% of the time they're like, oh, thank gosh you guys are here. Can you crush this one down? I've even gotten like extra sales because the guy wanted the one he was taking away crushed down so that he didn't have to put the cover over. They like us, and like he said, they don't get to him in time.
Like you guys said, this is the scaling of this business at a rapid pace truly is an awareness, attention, educate, and influence
100%.
Process right now. And that's why you guys are here doing this. And that's why you guys are about going out and talking to as many people as you can and going to the show you're going to go to afterwards. Because it really is just educating the marketplace. Like, we exist is one thing, but guess what? All the things you think are a reason not to use us actually are the reason to use us.
100%.
Like, so every objection you give me, you actually just, if you heard yourself, you just gave yourself the reason why you should use us.
100%. And if I can real quick, we're talking purely on the waste side of things. We've partnered with a couple different scrap roll-off companies because while the waste company may not want us in the dumpster, I don't know if you've checked scrap metal pricing right now, but it's as low as it's been in decades. So the scrap guys want us in the dumpster because ultimately, hey, I don't have a driver to get out there. Can you crush that dumpster? Because now their customer can get more metal in it. And even at our price, you're still making a bigger profit than you were had you just picked up a dumpster full of air and scrap metal.
You know what's cool? We've said the word crush like 60 times on this show. And I don't think on the previous shows we said it once.
Yep.
So the word crush is pretty badass. I like to crush a golf ball. I like to crush donuts.
Yeah. They're delicious.
You're crazy. They're delicious. They are delicious. They are delicious. All right, closing thoughts. Let's wrap this bad boy up. I always like to go with inspiration. So I'm going to start with you. Give me kind of your driving purpose. What is, and when I say this, I mean life and your experience at Garbage Gorilla, because I would imagine just in a short time of speaking with you, you kind of got a light in your eye, man. Like you kind of, I can feel the energy, right? So this is just your destination. This isn't your final destination. Like, you're going places here with this organization. You're catching on very quick. So what's the purpose here at the organization? And then what's the purpose that's fueling that purpose, which is probably, some real life stuff.
Yeah, I would say honestly, and I was waiting to give my flowers. I talked to Nathan right before I had my my daughter back in June, and we were just talking. I've talked to the partner a few times, not a bunch, and I said right before we got off the call, I was like, because he asked me how was me and Mike's relationship. We haven't talked about much. Me and Mike are like little best friends. We both watch UFC, text each other all weekend. Ooh, did you see that? Yeah. Ooh, are you ready for fantasy tomorrow? So I would say not only that, but I told him, I was like, the reason I'm here is because of Mike. I was like, yes, I'm good at sales. I enjoy sales. Do I know if it wasn't for Mike, if I'd be here right now? No. Like I said, Mike treats me like how I want to be treated. I get treated like I feel like he is my superior, and I always look at him like that, especially from chain of command. Mm-hmm. But he also makes me feel like, hey, you can always come to me in a personal matter. So that really drives me to work for him.
So Mike, I'm going to make this into a clip and send it to you. So when he's acting up, or it's like you can just play the clip for him and go, remember when you said this?
Well, and conversely, I guess he's gonna get a clip of me throwing flowers too.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, then you guys,
Mike, remember this?
They're called
Stop yelling.
They're called the accountability clips.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I would say, and then honestly, what drives all that is just like my wife and kids.
Yeah.
I'm like a big family person. He knows it. That's also like a big thing is I love my work. I love making money, but if my wife called me right now, I'd be like, bye, guy. Or like if there was an emergency or anything was going on, she needed me, I would drop these headphones and I would run out the door faster than anyone else would have seen.
All right, so then that should be a clip too.
Yeah, I mean,
send that.
100%.
Send it to her. I'll give you her number. Just make sure she gets it. I won't send it to her.
Hey, this just showed up on my phone. I don't know how I got your number, but here's the clip. I think this is your husband. I don't know. By the way, I'm John.
But yeah, so I would say it's all comes in. He's a big family man. I'm a big family guy. So it's kind of, we just have the same core values. So it's very easy for me, like I said, to want to work for him. Yeah. It makes me want to push myself, makes me want to, get out of my comfort zone. So I would say all those things combined, it all comes together in one, I always like to say. And he used to tell it to me best. He's like, I understand you want your personal life, but he was like, your professional life fuels your personal life. Your professional life is nothing. If you're not doing much, if you're not putting in that work, how much of a personal life do you have?
He's right. There's this conversation about work-life balance, and I think your generation has been lied to, okay? Because work-life balance means that you're going to give 50% to your life and 50% to your work, which means you're diluted in both, right? And in some points in your life, You have to give 90% to your life and 10% to your work. And that's just the way that it is.
Sure.
And
if you got a sick child, if your wife just came down with something that is going to be life-threatening, if your mental health isn't right, like that, it's harmony. They have to work together. 100%. So I love that that you talked about that, but and Mike gave you great advice because you're at a point in your life right now where wife is healthy. You're young. You could take risk. You can go after it. Kids are looking at you, proud papa. You haven't made any mistakes as a father yet. You know, your kids are 15, 17. You ain't so cool anymore. Right now, you're super cool, right? So this is the time for you at your age to really like 90% work, but that 10% family is everything else is turned off. It's completely attentive, right? Just 100%. Like 1000% dive in. And then guess what? When you get to be an old codger like me, then you're like hanging on for dear life because your kids are about to go to college. So you might be a little bit more life right now.
100%.
And then when they're off to college, then I'm going to dive back hardcore into work. Yep. Right? So it goes like this. I don't know if you can really balance it. I think it's more of a harmony thing. You just got to, where does your time need to be allocated in that moment? And that's how I think you stay present and you kick ass. That's how you get shit done, man.
That's what I have to agree. 100%.
Yeah. Well, I hope people in your generation listen too, because do you agree, Mike? They've been lied to. The work-life balance thing, how do you do 50-50? Come on.
Yeah, and the more that the generations kind of evolve and becoming, slaves to technology and things like that, they do so many. We used to dial out of a phone book, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I had the carbon copy leads, right? The white, the yellow, and the pink. And they would take the 3 lead. They'd rip them.
Really?
So they make 3 stacks. So I'm in a room of 50 inside sales guys, right? And we're all pounding the phone,
dialing
calling
for
out.
dollars.
And I got the white copy. Little did I know, 3 seats over had the yellow copy, and 5 seats from them had the pink copy. We're all calling the same damn clients. All they did was shuffle them. So I might call this guy at this time, and he doesn't get to it till the middle of his stack, and that's at the bottom of that guy's stack. And I'm calling up, and I'm the first one in, and then the guy who's got the pink copies going, did you call them an hour ago? I'm like, yeah, don't you call them, right? So, yeah, we were out of a phone book and out of the carbon copies.
Absolutely.
It's a totally different world.
So, yeah.
So, what is the purpose for you, Mike? What are the principles? What's driving you right now in business and in life?
So, you could really summarize it on both ends with one word, and it's service. I've lived a very long, circuitous life in 48 years. I was raised by a single mom, oldest of 4. I'm from Hammond, Indiana, so an inner city kid. I've always had to overcome adversity, and when I got through high school, kind of into college, and then even after post college, I carried a lot of anger. Just like, why is my life so hard?
Yeah.
But then ultimately you have a kid, you look through a different lens, you get a good job, you get a good opportunity, and it kind of changes your perspective. And, I found that the only thing that really ever truly brought me any joy or success in my life was serving others. So that's why I lead the way I lead. That's why I lead my household the way I lead my household. I mean, I go into most things with the intention of serving people. And, if you think it's genuine, great. Most people do. There's plenty of that don't.
Sure.
And that's fine too. Ultimately, I feel as if, if I'm serving you, you're going to see the value both in me and what we're providing, whether it be personally or professionally. I coach my daughter's 14U travel softball team, and I lead the girls the same way.
The Outlaws.
Shout out to the 14U Outlaws. We won our SWS championship this year.
I do my research, baby. I know. I saw the Outlaws.
But I lead that the same way I lead my family, the same way I lead Will, the same way I lead this company. I serve others. Mm-hmm. So I am in service to others because I'm indebted to others because we're all part of the same society and environment. And if I'm trying to make you miserable, what essentially am I accomplishing? And I do. Everybody uses karma as a bad thing. He's going to get what he's, or she's going to get what's coming to her. Well, it also works on the good. If you put good out, you're going to get good back. And that doesn't mean it's perfect, but that's ultimately the lens that I try to look through. And it took me a long time to get there, but I'm grateful that I'm here. And ultimately, I try to serve in all that I do.
Well, I'm glad that you overcame your anger and you reversed it and you turned it into fuel to serve. And that's pretty amazing. So you crushed your anger.
I crushed it.
Right? And you turned it into love and passion and productivity. Folks, we keep hearing the same thing. We keep hearing from all of these entrepreneurs and executives and talented people that it's about giving first. And it lights my heart up to be able to bring that type of repetition of thought to this podcast, because that makes it well-intentioned as a podcast, because we want to serve our listeners. And it lights me up because I go, don't think about you, think about others first, and then it'll come back to you. We talked to another entrepreneur, talked about Bill Himmelstein, who talked about the giver's gain philosophy, right? The more you give, the more you gain. And the gain doesn't always have to be financially. The gain could be peace of mind. The gain could be education. The gain could be relationships. And those things might ultimately help you to gain financial freedom, right? So I'm just so happy when I get a chance to speak with people like Michael and Will that are centered, that are in the right mindset and have the right intentions for society. These are the people that deserve to win. These are the people that we deserve to reward with our business, because they have the right intention and the right purpose, and that's to serve, to give, and to do the right thing for their families. So again, it is garbagegorilla.com. You got to check it out. I know you know somebody, or you are that somebody who has a dumpster or is going to need a dumpster. And if you like to work with great people, because people do business with people, this would be the organization that you should check out and you should look into. I hope that I'm able to collaborate with these fine folks, whether it be through their service or some of ours. But I want to remind you, gentlemen, you got shit done.
Hey,
hell yeah.
We got shit done with you.
Let's
Appreciate
go.
you.
Thanks for being on.
Thank you.
Can your business handle 15% growth? If yes, you have to engage with 2020 Design. They fuse data and creativity to stop the scroll, break through the noise, and grab the attention of your future customers. 2020 Design will create competitive, click-worthy campaigns, design and build custom websites, spark your social media presence, and structure email campaigns that get right to your audience, the decision maker. Let's boost attention and awareness, which allows you to convert more sales. Check them out at 2020design.com. That's the number 20, TWENTY, design.com.